Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back and watching. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well, staying safe, taking care of yourselves and all those kind of things. And if you are new here, I'm Jim. Great to meet you. Thanks for stopping by. I make tutorial videos here every week showing you how I edit my photos using various software products. Today I'm in Luminar AI again, and I want to show you the local masking tool that's in Luminar AI, and it's effectively what's replaced the layers function, right? So functionally, it does a lot of the same things. It doesn't do everything, but it does a lot of the same things as layers does. And while I've had it in the beta copy that I've had this whole time in all these previous videos, I haven't been showing it because they asked us not to, because they said, hey, it's going to change and perhaps significantly. So I've got a new update. It has changed, and I wanted to share what I have now. Now, what I am going to say is we're still in beta. I don't know if things are going to change further, but I wanted to at least walk through and give an example of what you can do with the local masking tool and how it works, because I get a lot of questions. I'm hoping this video, while not providing every answer, will hopefully provide some answers. So without further ado, let me get into it. Here's a photo. I've done nothing to the photo. It's just, I think it's just a JPEG. There's spots on it. I probably need to straighten it. I'm skipping all that. I'm in the edit module, and you can see all the typical stuff that you've been seeing in my previous videos is here. And then you've got the 4 tabs here: Essentials, Creative, Portrait, and Pro. But if you scroll down here, you see local masking. And while, like I said, that's been here all this time, in these other videos, I haven't shown it until now. So local masking, as the name implies, allows you to just mask in some different things in specific parts of the photo using radial mask or gradient mask or brush mask. I'm going to show you how that works. So normally what I would do is come in here and make some adjustments to the photo using these tools that apply globally, or of course, remember, you can go in and apply these tools specifically, except for the light tool. The light tool doesn't have a masking option, but Enhance AI does. Structure AI, it's this little icon here that looks like the head of like the top of a spray paint can. Same icon as you see down here for local masking. So you click on that and it opens up a new menu and it says add. You basically have 2 options. You can add a basic local adjustment or a texture local adjustment. I'm going to talk about texture first, but I'm going to come back and do different videos about that. But if you click on that, that's how you added a texture layer in the previous version of Luminar, so Luminar 4. And as you can see here, you can click load texture, you can go get your file, and you can change the opacity, the zoom, you can flip it around, and then you've got some additional controls here. Again, I'm going to come back and do something more specific about texture layers. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'm not trying to tease you or hurry out of it. I want to get on to the other one, which is the basic adjustment. So if you click on that, you will see it opens up. In the top section here, you can have the different kind of mask: paint mask, which is a brush mask, a radial or a gradient mask. These 3 dots over here give you the ability to copy mask and paste mask, or you can hit the / key, which is above the question mark on my Mac next to my shift key. And that allows me to show to show the mask on the photo. You've got some settings here for the masking, but the key thing is all these sections down below, I should say all these sliders down below. We can change the temperature, the exposure, all that. So what I want to do is I want to focus on the water here because it's too dark. So I'm going to say, hey, well, I'm not going to say, I'm going to say it and do it. I'm going to drag the exposure slider to brighten that. And again, I'm looking just at the bottom. The top is getting too bright, and I don't care. I'm going to pull the highlights down a little bit. I'm going to pull up the shadows, maybe give it a little bit of saturation and vibrance simply because I just like my color. And then I'm going to grab the gradient mask, and I'm going to come over here, and you click and drag, and you just slide that guy right there onto the photo. And there it is. You can just hit enter, and you're done with it. And as I said, if you want to see the mask, hit the / key. There's your mask. And yes, if you want, you can come in now, and with paint mask, you could come in here and paint some additional spots or remove some. I don't want to do that right now. I'm going to hit the / key again. And I'm actually happy with that. I like what I've done with this local mask. So there it is before, and there it is after. Now, of course, I'm not finished with the photo. I also want to play around with some of the top of the photo. So once again, I'm going to say add, and I'm going to add another basic mask, and it opens up the same menu. You can see the one I have down here below. It says basic. I can click that X to get rid of it. If I click on that, that expands it. But I'm going to close that. It's got a little dot next to it, which means it has adjustments made to it, just like when you see dots next to the 4 main tabs: Essentials, Creative, Portrait, and Pro. I'm going to go back to this second mask, and by the way, they've told us you can add up to 10 of these I haven't tried 10. I've done 4 or 5. Works great. It's much quicker than layers, just to be clear. And I think that's one of the major reasons they wanted to have this. So I'm going to say warmth. I'm going to say saturation and vibrance. I'm going to say exposure a little higher, highlights a little bit lower, shadows a little brighter. And once again, I'm going to say gradient mask. Or I'm going to do gradient mask, say it, do it. I'm going to do both, and I'm going to pull it in, and I'm going to get it just kind of here in the sky a little bit, kind of tilted about like that. And I like that, so I'm going to hit enter. And once again, I can turn this off if I'd like to. There it is before that local mask, which is a gradient mask, and there it is after. So again, that's allowed me to do things in the top of the photo that I didn't do in the bottom of the photo. I may have used the same sliders, but I set them at different values. And by the way, speaking of the values, I'm going to go back to this first basic mask, which is the bottom, and I'm going to lift that exposure a little bit more. So yes, you can come back and change the values. I've now lifted that exposure a little bit more, and it's getting kind of splotchy. It's a JPEG. Disregard the quality of the photo. I just want you to look at how the tool works. So now I've got 2 basic masks, both gradient masks, one for the sky, one for the water, done in the opposite order, of course. But I want to do one more. I'm going to say plus, add, and I'm going to get a basic mask one more time. And this time, I think I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to darken it a little bit, and I'm going to pull down just a little bit, and I'm going to pull down the highlights. And this time, I'm in paint mask, which is the same as brush, and I'm in plus. And you can right bracket key to increase or left to decrease. I'm going to right bracket key to increase. By the way, this is on a Mac at least. I don't know if it's the same on Windows. You can also hit the X key to turn that to a minus, which is basically erase. Same thing as over here. I'm now on erase. The left side is paint. That right side is erase. If I hit X again, it goes back to paint. So what I've done is I've lowered the exposure and the highlights, and I'm going to paint that into these buildings. So I just want to cover a little bit of that bright part of the photo just to reduce that overall kind of, I'm going to call it a glare. It's not really glare, but how it's brighter in those areas than it is in other parts of the photo. It doesn't really seem balanced to me. So I'm going to come in, and I'm kind of hacking here. This is a quick and kind of sloppy mask, but let me turn that off. If you look at the buildings before, there they are a little bit brighter, especially kind of more to that left side because the sunset was coming in from there, so it's hitting those more directly. And after, you can see there now it's a little bit darker. So that's really how the local masking tool works. It's quite simple. And then if you wanted, you could come in here and say, hey, you know what I want to do? I kind of want to make some global adjustments. And so maybe that's what I'm going to do. Maybe I'm going to warm it up and add a little tint, maybe a tiny bit of contrast, maybe a small exposure bump to the overall photo, maybe a little bit of this and that on the highlights and shadows, tiny little bit of accent AI. Here's a fun thing. You can do masking on these individual tools except for the light tool, like I said. So maybe I want to smooth out the water and the sky. So I'm going to do negative structure. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say paint mask. I'm going to make it bigger, and I'm going to change it to erase. And I'm going to erase that from the buildings because I don't want soft buildings. I want soft sky and water. So as you can see, the mask is where all the reddish pink is. And all I'm doing is going in here and very quickly and quite sloppily, I might add, just erasing that negative structure from the buildings because, again, I just want to have those remain kind of crispy and the rest of the photo, which is water and sky, be a little bit softer. So now that I'm done with that, you can just close that masking menu, and then you can increase or decrease that to your heart's content. I'm going to go kind of soft just for effect, and maybe I'll come into color and add a little bit of vibrance because I like my colors, and maybe I will come in and do a little bit of landscape enhancer and add some golden hour, and I like that a whole lot in the sky and the water, but too much on the buildings. Well, guess what? If I don't want it on the buildings, I can just go borrow this mask. I'm going to go back to Structure AI, get the mask that I had. I'm going to say copy. I always say I'm going to say something. I'm going to do copy. I said it too, but whatever. I'm going to grab a copy of that mask from Structure AI, and I'm going to come paste it in here, paste it in there, and I've just pasted the same mask from structure AI, which was applied to the sky and the water, onto landscape AI, which is golden hour. And so that extra pop of gold is not affecting the buildings, although it actually is affecting the reflection of the building. So I should probably come in and with the eraser, come in and erase that because that's a little too much there. I don't want to overdo that gold warm reflection. Something about like that, that looks okay. We're friends here, so this is not scientific work. This is kind of artistic, fun work. That's how the local masking tool works in Luminar AI. What I would normally do is kind of the reverse of this. I would probably do some global adjustments and then come in with the local masking tool and make some local adjustments. But in this case, I wanted to start out just local adjustments and show you how nice the photo looked, in my opinion, even just doing local adjustments. But after doing that, I came and hit it with several global adjustments. Structure AI and landscape with the golden hour actually applied with masks. So those are local adjustments too. Remember, you can do the local adjustments on the local adjustment tab over here. By the way, notice it has that little dot in the corner, just as these tabs do whenever you've used a tool from them. So if you look at Essentials, if you're not on the tab, you will see that it has that dot in that upper corner. Anyway, you can apply mask locally, but then come in and mask these tools in except for light. But the key thing for me on local masking is that you have the ability to get to many of the same things that are in the light tool, but apply that up to 10 different times with a local mask. Hope that gives you an idea. This is not a full everything you need to know about the local masking tool. I will be back and soon with more videos. I'll dive into the texture component of local masking as well, because I think there's some cool things you can do there. And I'll be sharing that right here, my friends. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. You guys stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Hit me up with a like, leave some comments and questions down below. And I'll see you soon, my friends. You guys take care and adios.